Hello there, and welcome to the Out Time Film Podcast, where we talk film, TV, games, all that jazz. Let us know tomorrow. This week, though we tried to avoid it, we tried to run, but destiny still arrived. We are talking about the MCU Spider-Man films. Oh
Uh,
boy, my name's Tom. As always, I'm
uh,
joined with my co-host John. Are you ready?
hey, I want to summarize like the picture how I feel with this. Um, is this picture from a show called Cowboy Bebop? It's called Spike, and
I'll,
I
I'll, I'll
showed you
make a
this
note.
picture,
Yeah.
and it's him like pointing a gun. He's got a finger
Oh
gun
yeah.
towards the screen, and that's how I feel afterwards. Just like watching it, just like in pain, while just like
Yeah.
blood on the face, and just like,
Yeah.
why did I watch this? And like,
Oh,
yeah,
where did it all go
yeah,
wrong?
uh,
So anyone who doesn't know, we're talking about all the Spider-Man films. We've already done a video on the Raimi trilogy. We've already done a video on the Amazing Spider-Man film. So if you want positivity from us, this is not the video for it. Those
no,
videos are much more
this is gonna
positive.
be a hate. Oh no, it's gonna be like a dislike video. Yes, this
You
is
know
a
that
dislike video.
I do have a lot of hate, but there is a lot of stuff that there's quite a bit of positive stuff I have to say as well. Let's just as we always do, let's just talk about the MCU films, the Spider-Man MCU films as a whole. I think that generally they just present a fundamental kind of misunderstanding about the morals of who Peter Parker, who Spider-Man
Yes,
is. And
and it
yeah,
doesn't feel right
no.
watching it at all because it just feels like you were watching it somewhere else in the Spider Verse where Peter doesn't really have the right morals of Spider Man, even though he's just like with his friend Ned all the time, just like yeah, Ned, yeah, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's just so like I understand what they're going for. They're presenting a Spider-Man who is here in a universe where you've already got the Avengers, you've already got like these kind of titans that Spider-Man will be looking up to and kind of comparing himself to. But in doing that, they completely are forgetting so many aspects of of who he is. He's the working class hero, and we have this boy who's worshiping somebody who the films kind of. I mean, we'll talk about this a lot with Far From Home. He's worshiping
Yeah,
heroes who the films never criticize. Whereas, in the comics and in so many other pieces of Spider-Man media, he refuses to align himself with them because what they are doing, you know, is so against his own morals. And even when he does align with them, in Civil War, for example, he realizes that this is the wrong thing to do. So he totally disassociates himself and chooses, the other side that isn't like,
yeah,
for the billionaires.
and even though it doesn't really stick with the one thing that it doesn't have the one thing with great power comes with great responsibility that that is missing. That is gone. Like it's like it's not in the Jedi archives or something, like like in Star Wars, like
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and
Brilliant.
it's just empty. I can okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna describe this whole two films empty. That's how I can describe it.
Mm.
Like you know the comics have it. Like the white tone for it, and the Raimi trilogy. The Andrew Garfield did have a lot of
Yeah.
that, but this, what is this mess?
Yeah, you really
And
don't feel it. The title for the video is that the MCU Spider-Man films are flawed, and I think that there's so many fundamental flaws in this that really let's start off. Let's talk about Civil War. Let's just talk about
oh
Spider-Man in
yeah,
Civil
Civil
War,
War.
and I think this is the best that MCU Spider-Man has been. Genuinely, I think this and Infinity War is top tier MCU Spider-Man. Um,
Yes,
Obviously, we
I
all
agree.
remember seeing that trailer where Spider-Man
Oh
arrived.
my
I
god,
mean,
that was so unexpected.
it's
What
beautiful.
I mean, back then in 2016 or 2015, we had like no
Mm.
idea what was going to happen with this because I heard like Civil War. I was like, oh, I'm going to get the comic. So I got the comic, and it is an amazing
Yeah.
graphic novel. And you should definitely read it. It's got
Oh
Spider Man
yeah.
in it.
Oh yes.
So
I mean, that's one of my favorite. I haven't read a whole load of Spider-Man comic books, but that is definitely one of my favorite appearances. Um, You know, he joins, as I said before, he joins Tony. He gets his fancy Iron Spider suit. He reveals his identity to the public because he does what he thinks is right. And then he sees how, you know, Tony's side, you know, the siding with the government is, kind of forbidding and heroes to be heroes and to protect people. And then he goes back to Cap's side, and he sheds the billionaire suit and he puts on his classic Spider-Man colors, to kind of say fuck you to Tony. And I mean, for Civil War, I don't know why they decided to. I mean, I know what they're going for in the MCU. They're building this relationship between Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and Tony Stark, Iron Man. But I don't understand this character, why they had him side with Tony in Civil War. I just okay.
Yeah. That's the one thing that really confuses us because Tony. What?
I said yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said wait.
Wait.
With Iron Man's aims for this film was to sign the Soviet, not Soviet,
the Soviet Accords. Vladimir Putin is the new sponsor of the Avengers, folks. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
It's true. No,
Sokovia.
Sokovia. Sorry. My God, I couldn't. My brain was like, it sounds like this. Sorry, I've been studying the Cold War a lot. I'm like, yes, the Sokovia Accords, and letting the government control the Avengers, which isn't exactly cool. I mean, what they're doing with that.
So not cool, bro.
That's not cool, bro. That's not right. That's not right. But what they're doing isn't right for the Avengers. So it's allowing the government to control what to do and how they're going to save the world in different aspects. But no, it's just limiting their freedom, really. So again, with this film, it's Captain America fighting against Iron Man for the Sokovia Accords, and with Spider-Man alongside with Iron Man. What? Because I that is the most confusing thing about that, really. Yeah.
I think the reason why it could work, and I think this is a fair enough excuse. Tony doesn't tell Peter what's going on. He just tells him that Captain America, Peter doesn't know truly understand what's going on. He never signs the Sokovia Accords, and I think that's fine. But I think in the future it creates some rather flimsy dynamics going forward from this. Peter never criticizes Tony for his decision to do the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah.
He's always looking up to him. He's always looking up to the Avengers. And maybe if that was, built so that then he could, understand the real truth, the Avengers aren't perfect. And, and his whole kind of worldview would come crashing down. Maybe they could do that, but they still keep them on a pedestal, even when they do try to criticize. And it makes so many of the core ideologies of Spider-Man and Iron Man, they're so different, in so many ways, and they just make them so similar. I think that is I don't think that's a good idea. However, I think Spider-Man in this series, he's at his best when he's a side character. He isn't being given any arc, and he's just kind of having fun with the Avengers like he would in a comic book appearance. I think, as I said, the best Spider-Man we get in these films is him in Infinity War and Civil War. You have elements of his character journey throughout the MCU, but it's nowhere near as egregious as the other films, like his solo films.
Yeah. I feel like that the Russo brothers, they really know what to do with Spider-Man in these films as well. Even though these films are huge, at a huge epic scale for these, Infinity War and it really put
War and the other one.
And the other one, Civil War. But I can't think of Endgame as that much of Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's in Endgame for 2 seconds, honestly.
2 seconds and that's it. But no, Infinity War, I thought it was the right time to have it in, because he was wanted to be, I don't know what the quote was. He was in the ship. He was there can't be a neighborhood Spider-Man without I don't know.
Yeah, you can't be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man if there's no neighborhood. that kind of thing.
Yes.
I think those films get some good morals in. You know, in Civil War, Peter's great power speech, I think it's a really good way to, you know, introduce Peter to the audience. And, you know, and yes, it's true that he doesn't just say with a great power comes great responsibility. But the point, I think, is still there, and I still think it works. You know, he's somebody who knows, you know, his morals, and those morals are something that he loses and then has to regain in Homecoming. You know, something that he loses because he just wants to become an Avenger before realizing that, oh wait, there's a better reason to do this than just to get, you know, Iron Man's approval.
Yeah. But yeah, those are the strongest stuff that we've seen, you know, from Spider-Man in these films. So yeah.
Definitely. Can we just talk before we go on to Homecoming? I just want to say, Civil War, the suit. I'm so sorry. I do not like this MCU Spider-Man suits. It's just caked in CGI. It doesn't feel tangible or textured in the way that previous Spider-Man suits have. You know, if you look at set pictures, the original on-set suit was like so much better looking. You know, it has like texture and raised webbing, and what they do in post is they make it skin tight, and they just make Spider-Man look like a video game character, and not in the good way either. You know, like those suits can look good in video games, but they just look so it looks dreadful. It really looks dreadful. I'm
It
so
does.
unhappy. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like the proper Spider-Man, but these two films, you know, put that kind of Spider-Man suit into it. You know what I mean? Like they kind of have it for most scenes, but mainly it's CGI, isn't it? So
Yeah, and that's the. I mean, yeah, that's just the problem, isn't it? It's just I don't mind the eyes. I don't mind how the eyes move, but in general, I prefer a much more practical suit. You know, I just think it looks better. You know, if you look at set pictures or behind the scenes or even videos of, you know, Tom Holland in the Spider-Man suit on like talk shows or like, you know, going to visit kids in hospital, it looks great. It doesn't need any CGI to make it look better, because, you know, those effects just don't really do anything. You know, I don't think they're. I mean, we don't need to give Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame a score. Let's just say well done, everyone.
Well done,
Pat on the back.
Yay!
It should have been Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man though. Like, yeah. I'm sorry, like I will never not. It should have been Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
No,
and I will forever be upset. But there we go. Let's talk about Homecoming, shall we? We got to do it, John.
But before
we made a promise to the people.
But before, I like the soundtrack. I mean, not like the one that who did like the score?
Michael Giacchino.
Yeah. I didn't know why Pemberton came into my head because that was Spider-Verse, but he did. Oh no, that was the
Daniel Pemberton did Spider-Verse.
Yes. I don't know what my brain decided to go, but the soundtrack, in Spider-Man, there was there's one song that I absolutely loved hearing, and then afterwards, when this film came out, it was 2017, and I went to the cinema, and my dad was like, "Yeah, I know that song." It was "Save It for Later" by The Beat, and like "Save for Later," yeah, and
no.
that's a good.
I don't remember that. Sorry, no.
You don't remember that? Oh, okay. Because my never mind. The soundtrack wasn't great then.
No, I do like the score. I think, you know, Michael Giacchino is great at what he does. I can just list amazing scores by him all day. And I you know, I like the contrast between Peter's theme and Vulture's theme. I think that's really cool. Also, what I like, and this is a very small detail, you know, it's not apparent, but it is there. It's not the easiest thing to notice, but in the MCU Spider-Man films, Peter's theme becomes more mature. And when I say that is that in the first Spider-Man, in Homecoming, it's very much like a kind of light theme with kind of like, you know, those like bombastic elements, and then it becomes a bit more mature and uses a bit more brass and, you know, kind of like takes on like a bit of a lower kind of key in Far From Home. And apparently I hear that it's even more kind of like Spider-Man bombasticness in No Way Home from the leaked soundtrack. I think that's cool. I think it's a nice little musical. I always get annoyed at the MCU for not having much musical continuity. They're getting better at it these days, and I think this is a good example of it being pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Homecoming, give me your thoughts. Give them to me.
Okay, so Homecoming, well, when it came out, I didn't mind it. I thought it was
I loved
decent
it.
film back then.
When it came out, it was my favorite Spider-Man film. I'm sorry, I have to say it. I was a fool, but it's true.
What?
I'm sorry. I was 2017. How old was I then? I was 14, maybe 4. I was 14. I didn't know up from down, left from right. I was a baby. I didn't know what I was talking about.
Okay.
I think I've broken you. I'm sorry.
Moving on. I didn't know how this could be the best Spider-Man film.
No, it's not. It's really not.
Yes, it's definitely not.
No.
Okay, so this film is a mess. What we say about Peter Parker's morals and standards, and there was a lot of stuff that didn't really meet the film as much. I mean, it was just disappointing because I just looked on the news for interviews of like John Watts recently about Spider-Man Homecoming. They cut a lot of stuff out. With Ben Parker. Because
wait, really?
Yeah, they deleted one scene where Aunt May and Peter Parker were emotional about Uncle Ben.
What? No.
Yeah.
Jesus. This.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Right. Okay. So definitely, they made a choice to skip the origin, and that's something that drives a lot of people mad. And that is not the problem. I don't mind. I understand the decision why it was made, but when you skip over the origin, you're not only skipping over the origin, but they're just failing to mention what is important for character. They are just forgetting the aspects of responsibility.
Great power comes
exactly.
With great
you don't have to have Uncle Ben, you don't have to show his death or anything like that, but they never mention it. They have one line that implies Uncle Ben. Peter just says, after everything that May's been through, that just implies it. Like, come on, dude. What's going on? I want good Spider-Man content, dude. Honestly, it's like in Spider-Verse, they don't show the origin, but they mention it, at least 3 times. It's important. There's a very, very good moment where, all the Spider people say, we've lost people too, we lost these people, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it's bloody brilliant. And I'm so annoyed. And I didn't know it was possible.
Yeah.
I like this film less now. Jesus.
And there was they done the character wrong. That basically what I'm saying. They've basically done the character wrong kind of throughout this film. But there was other characters that that could be brought in, but Flash.
Woo! No.
Flash. What was this Flash doing? I'm sorry. Flash Thompson was supposed to be a bully, like a proper bully, like you see in the Raimi trilogy, in the Andrew Garfield. You can see that in the first one. What he was doing to Peter Parker, and that was the right choice to have that in, to show his motivation and carry on being a good person. But this, what is this? It's a nerd. It's a nerd. It's someone.
Flash Thompson is he's supposed to be somebody who he's bully but he's more layered than that. And in this film, he has no layers. He's just like the worst kind of comedy. And it's so annoying. I know what they were going for. Just somebody who isn't, that much of a bully and who is actually quite, you know, like pathetic himself, that's fine. You want to go for that, you go for that. I think it can work, and it has worked in other films. I can't think of an example, but I'm sure it can work. But they don't make it work, and it's really annoying.
It didn't work.
No.
And
I mean, like, just like the characters in the characters in general, like, they don't challenge Peter enough. You know, Ned, oh, he's barely a character. He's just a comedy machine. He never challenges Peter or gets angry with him. Like Liz does, in fairness, but Liz brushes it off every time he ditches her. And, you know, she ends up going with him to Homecoming, even though she's criticizing him for being so reliable. You know, like, May does demonstrate she cares for him, but she's also really shallow. She's angry at him for one scene, and next she's helping him get ready for Homecoming. The characters, you know, Peter Parker is never like, you know, like he's always like supposed to be down on his luck. He's always supposed to get shit from everyone. And yes, Peter can have friends. He has Harry Osborn in the Raimi trilogy, but the reason why their friendship works so well is that there is always a level at which it, you know, which it goes wrong. That's how regular friendships work. Like, just in general, there's always that kind of level where friends should be calling each other out for this stuff. The amount of times that Peter will ditch Ned and Ned will just not care about it, like, at all. Like, he says one line about "thanks for ditching me last night," and then Peter's like, "Oh, look what I found." Ned's like, "Oh my god, alien technology." It's like, what? Ah.
Yes.
Ah.
And I don't know why they would replace, you know, is there even a Ned in the comics, or they just create it on their own?
There is a Ned in the comics. I believe he was Hobgoblin, or he was like framed for being Hobgoblin. So maybe they'll make him
I don't know
Hobgoblin at
how
some
that's
point in the
gonna work.
future.
I don't know how that's gonna work for being a comedy machine into Hobgoblin. And also, yeah, but as you said about the, you know, the characters not challenging enough, like Vulture, Vulture wasn't the strongest villain. I don't know. I mean, Michael Keaton, props to him. He did really well as Vulture, but it was a bit, I don't know, it was a bit empty. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
mean,
it wasn't.
I think Michael Keaton, he saves the film. You know, Vulture
Kind
is
of,
here
yeah, he does.
to
He
save the
does.
film. Like, okay, so like, I think that, like, brilliant performance by Keaton.
Yes.
You know, the core of his character is that he feels like people like him, you know, blue collar workers deserve to take back what the rich kept for themselves. And, you know, I think that does stand on its own. But the problem is that it's not about Spider-Man. It's about Iron Man. This is essentially an Iron Man villain who's angry at Tony Stark, and he has an amazing few interactions with Peter. You know, he gets him out of the way. He drops a building on him. You know, he threatens to kill him, and it's great. The twist where it turns out that he is Liz's father. Oh,
Yeah.
cinema. That's awesome.
Cinema.
But the problem is that his motivation, it's not a motivation towards a Spider-Man. It's motivation towards a Tony Stark, and that is not how we're doing this.
Yeah.
Just pain.
It just ruins every it just ruins every motivation, to be honest. Like, what Spider-Man was gonna do, you know, stop Vulture, then plot twist, and then how is he gonna do that with this date at Homecoming? But yeah, yeah, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Aunt May, yeah, Aunt May was supposed to be like, you know, what we thought a supporting character, but wait, does she? Does she be supporting? I can't remember because there's too much happening.
She spends half the film saying,
"Oh, he does, yeah, yeah,
like there's one scene where she says like, oh, you know, if you see something bad happening, you turn and run the other way. You know, she's worried about him after the Washington Monument thing. You know, there's a scene where Peter comes home from the whole bridge boat thing. It's not a bridge, it's a boat. And she, you know, she's so worried, and she's like, cut the bullshit. You know, I know that you weren't in the Washington Monument. I know that you sneak out the house. You know, I know that you ditched attention. Like, what is going on? And she comforts him. But, like, this doesn't feel like it weighs heavily on Peter. He should care that his aunt is angry at him, but he just cares about the fact that Tony's angry at him. You know, like
Yeah.
there are no real human connections that Tony has of anyone, not Tony, that Peter has of anyone in these films. He's just trying to, live up to this big, like, this he's trying to live up to the Avengers, really. And but while doing that, he barely has an emotional connection to anyone. And the other, like how to get you to care about a character doesn't matter if it's Spider-Man, but any character in anything, if they have like good tangible relationships, that'll make me care. But he doesn't. He just doesn't. And it's just really annoying. It's really like, okay, the film is going for this kind of John Hughes, Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller kind of vibe. So they're trying to make it a teen comedy, but it just forgets what makes those films stand out. Like the things that makes something like The Breakfast Club stand out is because it has a social commentary and it has characters who sit down and talk to one another and generally feel emotional, and they don't undercut it with comedy. And I'm not saying that things can't be undercut with comedy. There are many good examples of things that are emotional and they use a bit of comedy to liven it up a little bit, but they do it so many times. They do it in every single time they have an emotional moment in these films. They just have to undercut it with comedy. And in these emotional moments that deal with consequences, Homecoming doesn't have that. The film has no real consequences, and Peter is rarely punished for his actions. So his moral obligation, this great power to become Spider-Man, it just has no weight.
Yeah, and it's so annoying. Like, it doesn't work out what Spider-Man is supposed to be like. Like, he doesn't take sacrifices, but I mean, it doesn't really show that throughout the film. It's like in a fun way, but I mean, no, just no. Just take a look at the rest of the comics that he's been through. Like, he's been through hell, and also he's just still Spider-Man. He continues, the good old phrase, with great power comes with great responsibility. I don't know why my brain decided to forget the phrase, but then it came
What
back.
What are you? The MCU films?
Funny, but yeah, this film just has a lot of problems. It just doesn't work out as as someone who watched the Spider-Man films at an early age. This is just a mess. I just don't like it at all. They just cut a lot of stuff out that could have worked out for the film, as Peter's aims and who is Spider-Man really, but in character work, it's just not there at all. Like with Ned, he's just a comedy machine, as we said.
Yeah.
And I just don't know what to say else, because I'm just getting annoyed from what the film just decided to do. John Watts. I don't know what, and it doesn't really explore about the bit in the spider thing really, because that could have been pretty cool to how Peter got that.
I guess we're getting that in an animated TV show now. They're making a TV show called Spider-Man Freshman Year, which apparently is going to deal with the MCU Spider-Man's origin story.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a thing that's happening.
Okay, I don't know. That's kind of bit. I mean, it is thankful that we're getting like an origin story for this MCU, but kind of lazy that they tend to go, oh, yeah, we'll add something to back that up. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it should be able to stand it on its own without an animated show. However, I think it could work. I always talk about Star Wars. The Clone Wars TV show makes episode 3 so much better. It makes the prequels better. And if this Spider-Man TV show makes Homecoming better, then that's all I want it to do, honestly. I mean,
yeah.
I'm going to be positive for a second, just for a fleeting moment. I did say up top that there are things that I like about these films. And I think, everything that I want in a Spider-Man film, the consequences, the responsibility, I think they are seen the best. I think they are seen perfectly in the boat scene. Peter jumps into everything. He almost gets a ton of people killed. And then he's scolded by the person who he looks most to in the film. Tony, brilliant. It's cinema. Peter has to learn to be a hero without his fancy tech suit. And I think it's a really smart way to knock him down a peg after, after he's been given everything, after he's been given this, position with like this beautiful, like tech-based suit and, like this place where like he's, like he considers himself an Avenger. Like, the film reacts, it reacts to that. And it wants to build Peter from where, like whether he can be a hero without the kind of technology that Iron Man has. And I think that is the best thing this film does. The second half, everything after the boat scene, I think is really, really strong. The action is great. The fact that Peter tries to save Vulture at the end, that's amazing. I love it. The tension when he goes into Vulture's house, it's great. I still hate the comedy. I still hate Ned. But damn, I think it's really cool. I think there's so much to love, like in the ending as well, the fact that he doesn't take the Iron Spider suit. Like, yeah, right? Even though Peter rejects that offer to join the Avengers, I think it's a great piece of character growth. The film still presents Tony's approval as a reward, and therefore, the arc, that he goes to kind of becomes a little bit null and void, especially since he gets the suit back at the end. But the point remains that he's learned what it is to be a hero without the suit, and he learns to stand on his own. And I think that is the best part of the film. I think the second half is actually really strong. There are some good action sequences throughout. The Washington Monument scene is quite good. I don't think this film is completely worthless, but I do think that there's so much, like, I can't, like, okay, Amazing Spider-Man 2 isn't completely worthless, but it has so many things that are like in character with Spider-Man, and it's so much more fun than Homecoming, in my opinion, that I enjoy it so much more. But Homecoming, I just can't enjoy it, even though there are some really good stuff in it.
Yeah. Especially that you say Vulture. That is also another positive thing in case as well. I thought the fight sequences were cool. Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
they were.
no, I think they're pretty fun.
Yeah, that's really cool as well what they did with the fight sequence. And the another thing that I kind of liked was that if you're nothing without the suit, what are you? So, and he got that homemade suit, and I thought that's a pretty good character development.
I agree. I think it's fun. So, I think this film could have been great. I think it even shows you that it can be great. It has the ability to be great. But I just think especially the first half is rough, is full of too much comedy. I don't like that Peter has a Karen. He has like his like AI, too Iron Man for me. The film, it stumbles, but damn it, when it does good things, I do maintain it does them well.
Yeah, I agree.
Score out of 10. Hit me. Score. Go.
5.
I agree. Easy 5. And I will also say it's my least favorite so far. Out of all the Spider-Man films we've talked about, this is definitely my least favorite.
Oh, that's surprising because Far From Home.
No, so far, John. Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. Don't you worry. Far From Home's coming.
Right. Okay.
Let's talk about Infinity War quickly. Just like, I think similarly to Civil War, I think Infinity War is pretty good. It feels like the logical next step for his story. Peter, he's learned what it means to be his own hero, and therefore he's kind of acting upon his own sense of duty and responsibility. You said it before. Great line. It is undercut by a joke, but still, you can't be throwing neighborhood Spider-Man if there's no neighborhood. In this instance, Peter, he's stepping up to stop something greater than himself, like in space, for the greater good, because it's his responsibility. And then the film chooses to reward him by making him an Avenger, which it feels disingenuous to his arc in Homecoming. It negates what I just said, but I think that the point still stands that this is a different Peter. He's learned from Homecoming, and I think there's some really good stuff with him in this film. When he's on the bus and he swings out of the bus, cinema. When he is like kicking Thanos through Doctor Strange's portals, cinema. Like, some amazing things. Honestly, I think that this film, some really nice Spider-Man stuff, and I think his death, is also pretty cool. Everyone knows it. I don't feel too good. I think it's a I think it's a really smart kind of way to just do the whole thing and kind of further his relationship with Tony, which they still kind of really want to do.
Yeah, I agree with how Infinity War, as I said about there can't be a neighborhood Spider-Man without a neighborhood. So yeah, I thought that was a strong character development because he really wanted to help Tony and save everyone. But by the end of the film, that was shocking because they got snapped. Ooh.
Yeah.
That was a really shocking moment in the cinema. Actually, seeing that. Everyone was like just felt silent, and I just never heard something so silent because you can hear people rapping with their popcorn or whispering. I mean, there was a huge moment when Red Skull came in. Everyone whispered like,
That, I mean, honestly, Infinity War, it remains one of the MCU's best, absolutely undisputed champion of the world. I think it's still one of the strongest, and I don't think there's a lot of things in that film that miss. And I think that Spider-Man is one of those things that I like in that film.
Yes. Right. So
before we get on to Far From Home, let's talk about Endgame just a little bit.
Endgame, yes, for 2 seconds only.
He's basically in like just the fight, and I like it when he rides on Captain America's hammer, or I guess Thor's hammer, but Cap's the one who throws it. He flies on Mjolnir. I think that's quite fun. What I don't like is when he activates instant kill mode and he kills all of the aliens. It's just it's horrible, man. Like,
yeah,
Jesus.
I don't know why. Yeah, that whole thing with Karen in Homecoming. Yeah, we completely forgot about Karen.
She's there. Karen is definitely there.
Just there.
I'm happy. I'm glad she's not in Home. I'm glad she's not in Far From Home, I must say.
Oh, yeah, she's definitely Karen. Get it? Okay. But yeah. But that again, that's ruining the morals of Spider-Man. I don't know. I think Spider-Man might be the most misunderstood character in the MCU. Yes.
I mean, yeah, I can't argue with that.
I can't think of anything else that.
No.
Yeah.
There probably is some there's probably some someone that we're missing, but yeah, Spider-Man. I like that they have. I like what he goes through in Endgame. He goes through some trauma, and he he has to lose Tony, and I think that the emotions are done well. The funeral, him when he reunites with Ned. Yeah, I think it's not bad. I don't have much to say. One day, John, we'll talk about the Avengers films in the podcast properly,
Yeah.
and I'll have a lot to say then. But first of all, John, it's time. I'm sorry. I really tried to put it off, but it's time to talk about Spider-Man Far From Home. As a Spider-Man film, Far From Home baffles me. As an MCU film, Far From Home baffles me. As a sequel to Homecoming, Far From Home baffles me. I don't understand this film, man. It's I hate it. I just hate it. Can we just end it there? I hate it. Thanks for listening, everyone. Leave a like.
You're gonna have a lot to talk about. I'm just also baffled to talk about Far From Home. First of all, Mysterio.
I'm gonna cry.
Jake Gyllenhaal. No hate towards Jake Gyllenhaal because
I love Jake Gyllenhaal. What a guy.
The guy's great. Come on,
hey,
you've seen in the films
as well.
Yeah, he does great. He does out a great performance. But the character. Do you remember that Electro motivation thing back in Amazing Spider-Man 2? Tom?
Remind me.
Well, as we all thought that Electro was being mad towards Peter because he didn't remember his name or, didn't help him, didn't remember us as a person.
Yeah.
But in reality, he was mad at the, that the screen's not focusing
Oh,
on Electro, but
it's
instead of
it's my
focusing on
birth.
Spider-Man.
It's my
Um,
birthday. Now it's time for me to light my candles. Oh, it's so
um,
stupid. I love it.
so this Mysterio, uh, it, so the reason why he's doing this whole drama is because that Tony Stark said "bath" for his presentation for the augmented
He
reality.
said bath. Oh, right. Okay. Mysterio, he has literally no emotional connection to Spider-Man. He doesn't have a vendetta
Yes.
against him. So his weight as a villain, it's so unimpactful. His role as a hero quotation marks, it's just completely pointless to the plot. It has nothing to say about Spidey. It isn't like, it's not like, it's not anything other than to have that twist. So the first half of the film, all that stuff is completely pointless, even more pointless when you rewatch the film. Sure, Peter and Beck have some good chemistry, but their relationship doesn't get to the point where I believe that Beck is betraying Peter. I don't believe that he knows Peter well enough for his words, during the illusion scenes, his words about Spider-Man. I don't believe they'll truly cut into Peter. The film, it leaves the Mysterio twist until way too late, and it instead gives us information. If it gave us the information earlier, we could, watch these scenes with a new context, and they could have lent into the fact that he was being this, grand, kind of like actor, like he's putting on this performance, kind of like at the end. But no, like it doesn't. We never get the chance to fully explore Mysterio's motivations. The film, same with Homecoming, it ties the villains to Tony, and it just shows the inability to move away from Iron Man. He's dead. Like, they want to present Peter, as better when free from his legacy, but they just can't let Peter stand on his own as a hero, and the villains reflect that.
And the spooky detail that you see in Far From Home was that Beck was watching Spider-Man all the way towards, like, to the point until he fights. What was the water person again?
The water one, Hydro Man, maybe. I don't
Hydro
know if
Man.
that's the official name.
That, oh
Was
my
he
god,
really?
like it is Hydro Man, I think.
Yeah.
Because funny enough, he did fight Hydro Man alongside with Deadpool in a really good comic called
Oh, cool.
Isn't It Romantic? The comic.
Yes, it is very romantic. So wait, so Mysterio is watching Peter all the way through?
Yes.
That's quite cool.
Yeah, you can see that with Jake Gyllenhaal in the background, just wearing glasses and a hat. That was him.
Oh, no,
so
not bad. I think that's quite fun. I'm not gonna lie.
Not gonna lie,
But
until now you're gonna like hate everything about the film. Oh yeah, the concept of the multiverse. I just don't know why
they
just
did that and then they didn't.
they said, "Oh guys, the multiverse is real. Oh my
Oh my
god, oh my
god.
god,
Oh wait, no,
lol."
it's actually not real. Haha, pranks,
And
bro.
and then haha, oh my god, lol, you fell for that, ha. And you thought that you're gonna get this, ha. But now we just got No Way Home. So
Yeah. Who's laughing now? Who's faster now, Barry? There's a line. Mysterio has a line where he mentions, no one takes you seriously unless you're in a cape and costume. You could be the smartest person in the room, and no one will take you seriously. Nobody will even give you, people will instead listen to the people, who just fight their way through everything, And this concept could be amazing if this was his motivation. Just a man who wants power. He wants to be taken seriously, so he uses illusions to make him a superhero, even though he believes they aren't worth the attention and the love that society gives them. But no, they lean way more on the fact that he is pissed off about Tony using his life's work in a bad way than he is, because if they did lean on the superhero thing, that gives him a reason to hate Spider-Man because Spider-Man's a hero and all this stuff. Maybe even connecting to one of the earlier films in the MCU, say that the heroes didn't save him or his family, like Zemo or something. It's just so baseline. I don't know how long it took them to make this film, but they got it out 2 years after Homecoming, and it feels like they put minimal effort and minimal thought into it. I don't see that these people are really trying to do Mysterio justice. In the comics, he's like an actor who's just like crazy and just wants to be seen as like this amazing artist. That's not difficult to do. Like, I'm sad. I'm just sad.
Yeah, it's okay, Tom. It's okay. Just take a deep
Why?
breath. Okay. Let me take over. Again, characters in this. There was just a bunch of comedy machines. The teacher.
Hey, Tom. Hey, I've got a good
Ned.
idea. Right? Why you talk about Brad? Do you remember Brad? Do you remember Brad, John? Remember Brad?
Brad in this film?
He has a picture of Peter Parker with his pants off, and he's gonna send the picture to MJ. Oh my God, Brad! Why are we doing this? Why do we need a love triangle?
Oh, by the way, they tried to make the Snap into a comedy. Like they thought.
Oh yeah! Yay! They don't.
Why? Why would you do that? That must have been like the most traumatizing thing that ever come to everyone gone for 5 years and they come back and it was like the most emotional support. Everyone coming back. Like you see that in WandaVision. I hate to mention WandaVision, but that in episode 3 when you see in the hospital when everyone comes back together, that's really emotional.
I agree.
But
you want to show these real world. Fun fact: Spider-Man Far From Home is set 8 months after Endgame. Why? Why aren't we exploring the immediate aftermath?
8 months.
Why?
8 months.
Why?
It came out.
It came out 2 months after Endgame. Why aren't we actually taking time to actually explore the consequence? I just don't understand.
I just don't understand because 8 months. You could have grieved Tony Stark in that amount of time for 8 months. I think with that, but exploring who was Tony Stark as a role model, that kind of frustrates me because with Uncle Ben with everything that could have had something with great power comes with great responsibility. That is the most important moral or value to have in this whole character. But there was one Happy was in this film, I guess.
Oh yeah, oh yes, he was. I want to just oh man,
and they used so many locations that didn't really. I wish the locations were being a bit more emphasized with Spider-Man, because I think they were there. They were just there.
Yeah, there's really no point for this film to be set in Europe. They just didn't want to have it in New York. They wanted to make it fresh, whatever. But they don't use the locations like they could. It's not even that fun to see Tower Bridge in London. And I've been to Tower Bridge. I think it's a really cool place, and I think it's a really wonderful piece of architecture.
Yes.
But they don't even use it well. There are I barely get the feeling that we're exploring different cultures. And every time we do, it's more about the characters being goofy and stupid. Okay. As I said before, the film opts for doing a love triangle instead of developing the relationship between Peter and MJ. The scenes between Peter and MJ are, they're cute, they have an awkward chemistry, and it builds up better than Homecoming, because in Homecoming, MJ was just there. She didn't have any real relationship with Peter. There was, literally one shot that implied she had a crush on him. But, he paid her no interest. And then he decides he has a crush on her off screen. That's fine. In the Raimi trilogy, Peter's crush on MJ is pre-established for the start of Spider-Man 1. Same in the web films and Peter's crush on Gwen. But, this is a sequel. We know Peter and MJ, so introducing this relationship just out of nowhere, straight after the harrowing events of Endgame, these events should be weighing on Peter. and and sometimes does weigh heavy of him, but it feels extremely tonally dissonant. We go straight from a video explaining what happened with the blip, which is just reduced to jokes again, to Peter being like, "Hey Ned, I've got a plan. I'm gonna make MJ love me," and it's like, okay, wait,
Okay.
when did you get a crush on MJ? Like what? Sorry, like what? Like
When?
you're just only just now like telling us this? Like this is just like come out of absolute nowhere, and they develop it as if they've already had one film of those two, kind of like getting to know each other, but they don't. It just like their friendship like is barely in Homecoming, and it's just like already there, and no, not a fan. Just not a fan, man.
Yeah. I just don't know why they decided to go into like the Ferris Bueller style again with what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be a comedy, like the teachers, oh no, we gotta go somewhere now. Oh yeah, Nick Fury was in this? Yeah, Nick Fury was there to like say, Peter, oh you gotta help Quentin Beck, like he's got the multiverse and there's no snakes on the plane, by the way, so we're good. So
It's true.
that's a reference to snakes on the plane. Don't know why the film exists though.
I would never have guessed that.
Yeah.
This film continues the over reliance on CGI. Everything that could and does look great practically is painting over with CGI. The bus is CGI. Why is the bus CGI?
Oh
I have
yeah,
no idea.
I remember that picture. Where the bus driver is like sitting and like nothing else behind.
What
What
are we doing right now? What's going on? I just don't know.
I
also, the bus
just don't
driver
understand. I just don't
might be chameleon as well, which is weird.
Oh
but
yeah, that he's a Skrull.
Oh right, sure.
Is he a Skrull? I don't know.
I don't. They don't confirm it, but I don't see why not. The main Mysterio illusion scene. It's amazing in theory. It's cool out of context, but there's just a lack of tangibility. It's all CGI, and it makes it seem weightless. As does Mysterio's lack of connection to Spider-Man. He says all these things about, oh, you're a horrible hero. You could have saved Tony, but Mysterio doesn't know Spider-Man well enough to give him this grueling. They only have like 2 emotional scenes together. 2. Not even used that well. He talks more about him wanting to, have an easy life with MJ than he does, actually talking about like things that Mysterio could use against him later on in the film. And I just,
Yeah. And what else that I didn't like the film?
Aunt May.
Oh, yeah. Aunt May falling in love with Happy.
Yay! Just what I always wanted to see. This weird relationship between these people I don't care about.
The idea of the relationships in this film is okay. In theory, it's funny, but no.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, no. It doesn't. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. Like what we see with Ned and
Betty.
Ned and
Betty.
Bessie. Is that her name?
Betty Brant. Yeah, from she's in the Raimi films and stuff. Just let it. She's in The Nice Guys. The actress is in The Nice Guys.
Oh, she's in The Nice Guys. Oh, oh yeah.
She plays the daughter. Yeah. Ned is so infuriating in this film. He's just there saying, "Oh, Peter, I'm a man now because I have a relationship." Shut up! Why don't you? Why don't you just
go relationship, Peter, and like to do something? And like throughout the film, it's just them being in a relationship and saying, "Oh, how lovely we're in a relationship," and by the end of the film, they just broke up.
Well, I mean, like, I didn't think there's a single scene where Ned and Peter have a heart to heart. The only time that I can like, I don't believe in this friendship. I just don't like. There's never a moment when where they support each other, and they should be supporting each other. Peter says, I want to get with MJ, and Ned's like, why? Like, he doesn't attempt to understand. He doesn't even like challenge him by it. He's just like, okay, I don't see why you should, because we're supposed to be bachelors in Europe. Oh wait, no, now I'm like with Betty. Oh, it's just the side characters in this film, they are unbearable. They don't further the themes of the film. They don't have any plot relevance. And, they reflect the worst of MCU side characters. They're right up there with Darcy and Luis in Ant-Man. Like, just, like Aunt May. Aunt May is barely in the film. And, any emotional stakes that could be created with Aunt May's worry about Peter, being Spider-Man, the fact it's ruined because she doesn't care about him being Spider-Man. She encouraged it. We never see once, in Homecoming, there was at least some evidence that she cares for him, but there isn't one line in Far From Home where she worries for him. Even when he almost died, she doesn't care when, and she encourages him to go headfirst into danger. She packs his suit for him. Peter loses Uncle Ben's suitcase, presumably one of the only things left he has to remember his uncle by, and May's just like, oh, your suitcase blew up. Ha 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 ha. Like, why aren't you at least being like, why isn't anyone bothered about these things? Like, why does the writing team behind this film just not care about these things about Spider-Man that should be so important and are so important?
Yes, and I this film is just really baffling to watch. I mean, I don't know what the director, well, John Watts or the writers thought about, like, hey guys, let's make this into a comedy and ignore like the basic morals of Spider-Man, and turn everyone into a comedy machine and not having the right character arc. Yeah, let's do that. The one bit I didn't like, what I absolutely hate, was then they got onto the ship at the end, and they were playing what Peter thought was like playing in the background. It was not Led Zeppelin. It was not Led Zeppelin, but it was like, oh yeah, Led Zeppelin, and like, what is that supposed to be funny? I just don't know anymore. Who wrote these lines? I really want to know who did this. Why?
Who did this to Spider-Man? What have you done? The idea of the plot revolving around Peter, having PTSD after the events of Infinity War and Endgame, wanting to get away from the pressure and stress of having to fill Iron Man's shoes. That's an intriguing concept. That is a good concept. But again, it isn't given the relevant weight and time to be fully explored. I don't believe that Peter has experienced these harrowing events, because both he and the film largely forget about this after the first act. The prospect of Peter can't use his spider sense, that's interesting. Maybe the events of Infinity War and Endgame have changed him, made him broken. It's like Hawkeye. He's deaf now because he's, or I guess hard of hearing because of all the explosions he's gone. Or in Spider-Man 2, he's gone through so much where, he can't use his powers. Or maybe it's just an excuse to make jokes at the expense of an interesting dynamic. There is a moment where at the end, and I think it's a great moment, where Peter says to Mysterio, you can't trick me anymore. And that moment has so much weight, and it demonstrates the end of his emotional journey. Or it would if the film if this theme was linked to his art, and not just because Mysterio keeps tricking him in his action scenes, something that bears no impact on Peter as a person. So much of the drama and the emotional moments, they're undercut by jokes, and it's the worst. Even in moments of emotional distress, Peter has been encountering Mysterio, and they undercut this tension with a joke about Danish people. Why is that even funny? Why am I supposed to laugh about Danish people being nice?
That was a joke about. Oh yeah, that was a joke about Danish people.
The football fans or whatever in the prison. It's just dreadful. It's like you said, the impact of the blip. It's just reduced to jokes, and it's just. I'm sad. I'm just sad.
I don't know.
I wish I didn't care so much.
The way that Peter, giving away the glasses to Beck. That is the most frustrating thing, because no other MCU character would do that. I'm sorry. That was the most unrealistic thing to have, like, giving away the most expensive, the most, military equipped drones, or like things that these glasses can access to, like, I don't know, everything, like suits, or I don't know. But
let's not even mention the moment where Peter sends a drone strike on his students, and he has to jump out of the bus and destroy the. It's just, It's just incredibly, unfathomably lazy. Like, why is this even a
It's like
theme?
it's just like what they're trying to do, trying to. There's a lot of exposition with the drones. Like the drone go,
Yeah.
oh, there's a drone strike. I wonder what that's gonna do. With the glasses. So yeah. Uh,
Yay. I mean, it feels like at this point, it feels like Peter has learned what it means to be Spider-Man and to be a hero 1,000 times. You know, his arc to realize he's not going to be the new Iron Man, it falls really flat. Not only is it extremely similar, it's not cinema, I tell you what, but not only is it extremely similar to his emotional journey in Homecoming, but it doesn't match what we saw of him in Infinity War, you know, where he's so much more confident about himself and makes choices based on his own sense of responsibility, you know, which the film contradicts by now wanting him to leave all that. This, it could be an aspect of the character linked to the PTSD. But, you know, the film's like, nah, you know, let's not explore any of the interesting stuff. Let's just have it as a weird framing device for him to leave. You know, the film, Nick Fury in the film, you know, who, you know, he's here, I guess. You know, he continually tells Peter that he has to step up and help for the greater good. And that he's done big stuff with the Avengers and therefore, you know, should help out with the Elemental Monsters now. But, you know, the film pretends like his motivation, his decision to help Thanos was motivated towards being an Avenger and not because of his sense of duty and responsibility. You know, it's just Spider-Man's story in the MCU, it's just all over the place. And it's so annoying. You know, the film critiques Tony Stark once, where Happy says, oh, Tony wasn't perfect. But then he proceeds to play AC/DC and look at Peter as if he's the new Iron Man. You know, like, it's just so contradicting. It's disingenuous. It goes against Spider-Man as a character. 3 out of 10. Never again. Fuck this film. I hate it.
wait, what did you rate out it? Sorry, Tom.
3.
Oh, I'm giving it a 2.
Fair enough. Fair enough, man.
Is there anything else I want to talk about? Soundtrack. I got nothing from the soundtrack, honestly. Like, nothing to jump out with, especially with the lazy story. Like, nothing works with this this whole story. It's just depressing to talk about. And yeah,
Yep.
I just don't know why they thought about this at all. So it's Spider-Man No Way Home, and yeah, that's another thing we gotta say. And this is the same director who did these films.
The trailers look incredible. They do. They look amazing. But I'm worried. I'd be lying if
I'm gonna get my expectations low. So
I wish I could. I'm just too much of a I'm just too excited. I'm too much of a fan. It's just true, you know.
And tomorrow is gonna be the day that we're gonna go off the internet, just not to be spoiled.
Oh yes. I'm seeing it on Wednesday. That's when I booked my tickets on opening day, and I'm excited. But I hope it's good, man. I really hope it's good. I hope I have a good time. And if I don't, I'll just be sad, won't I? I really wish I didn't. I really wish I didn't care this much, but there we go, I guess. There we go. And
there we go.
Yeah, should we end this episode with some positivity, John?
Yeah, please.
We got a trailer this week. We got a good trailer this week. We got a trailer for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1.
Yes.
Some good Spider-Man content for once. Yeah. Oh my god, it looks amazing.
It does.
It looks so good.
I watched the teaser too many times. I mean, you know, you can hear the word for word. Well, it's stuck in my head now with theme and everything that's gonna go in, and the animation still clean. Like, it's so good.
Somehow the animation, it looks better than it did last time. I don't even know how that's possible, but here we are. It looks great. The characters have got older, which I think is, you know, it's just fun to see, you know, them get older in that way. And the music.
The music. when
Daniel Pemberton is the man. Oh my god, he's incredible.
Wait, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, when Miles is traveling through that hexagonal.
Yes.
Yes, the
Oh, and
music.
it goes
Ah,
properly with the Spider-Man and the Miles theme, and it's just like, oh, and it gives you that record scratching, like oh, it looks so
ah.
good. I can't. I'm just so
Uh,
happy.
and the cool thing about this is that the university is going to like that's really cool that he's going across the Spider-Verse. Like that we got Miles to see the different version of Spider-Man, but
Yeah.
he's going through different. The way that he got into that world where it was Mumbai and New York
Yeah.
combined together.
That's so cool. The music even reflects it. It has some, kind of like, they kind of given that kind of East Asian kind of chimes. I think it's like that's
Yeah,
so cool. Like,
and
and then
the
Spider-Man
sound effects.
2099.
Oh, sorry, the sound effects. When the thwip. Yeah, that's translated in
Yes.
Hindi.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, you can
That's
see
so
that the
cool.
sound effects that are translated in Hindi.
That is amazing. I can't like it's so cool. And obviously you've got Miguel O'Hara as played by Oscar Isaac and we saw him at the end of Into the Spider-Verse. And just like you just seeing him coming out of a portal and just start to beat the ever living shit out of Miles. Like I'm so
Uh,
and his theme as well. His kind of like it's very kind
uh,
of Prowler-esque and it's just oh everything of
uh,
this is already ingrained in my mind. It looks incredible. It feels incredible. I'm so excited. It's part one as well. So
it's
that means
part one.
we're getting
I
a trilogy. Oh, dude, I'm excited.
uh a trilogy. Oh my god.
Spider-Man,
This
I've
is
said this
so
before
cool.
on I've said this before on the podcast, but Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is my personal favorite comic book film of all time. And I don't expect in Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 to be anywhere near as good, but damn, they've already set my expectations. They've set the bar high, and I'm excited already.
Yeah. That's gonna be so cool. I can't wait to see it.
Me neither.
Like
No, November or October or November next year. Exciting stuff. I
November.
think it's October. Um, let's let's roll out. I'm tired.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm so tired right now. Okay, that's Fallout. Thank you for listening. Our
Rant.
depressing uh, uh, um episode of talking about the MCU version of Spider-Man. Um, it's been a ride to talk about it, but a sad one. Not like a sad ride in I don't know in Disneyland. Like it's a small world, like it's just like that ride, but depressing. That's how I can give you much description. Like, you got Spider-Man feeling, not having the right morals. Okay, okay. Enough for that. Thank you for listening.
I don't know what just happened. Oh god.
Give it a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs
Yeah,
up if you
please.
if you like it. If you can dislike it, we know who disliked it, but I mean to understand
Yeah,
why the film.
dislikes don't matter anymore, apparently.
No,
Stupidest
uh,
thing I've ever heard. However,
uh,
you know what's happening next week? We're talking about No Way Home. We're doing it,
yeah.
and everything will have been worth it. Hopefully, all this Spider-Man rewatching would have been worth it.
Oh god,
The
I'm not excited to see like when I go back on social media, like you see in Rotten Tomatoes, it's gonna be like 20%. I don't
oh,
know.
don't say that, man. Don't say that.
It's gonna be John Watts, Tom. It's gonna be John Watts.
I have faith. I have literally no reason to have faith, but like, really, like tentatively, I think that No Way Home will, at the very least, at the bare minimum, will be exciting, nostalgic, and fun. At the bare minimum, I think it will deliver. I'll deliver on that, and I think that we will have an amazing cinema experience just because we'll be seeing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and all these elements from their films come back, and that is
Yes.
that is that. You know, the film might be dreadful, but I just know that we're gonna have a good time because hell yeah, I love the cinema and I love stuff like that. You know, I'm so critical of Endgame, but god damn it, I love it when Cap catches the hammer, and god damn it, I love it when he says Avengers Assemble. And I think this film is gonna absolutely body that with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. And if it doesn't, I guess I've got a new least favorite Spider-Man film ever. Yay!
Yay! So,
That's that, I guess.
wear your mask going to the cinema, especially going to see No Way Home, because that's going to be packed with every seat that's going to be filled.
It will.
So
have fun, hopefully. If you want to hear our thoughts on the Raimi trilogy or the Amazing Spider-Man films, you can check them out. You can throw us an email, tell us why we're wrong about these films at outtimefilmpod@gmail.com, or follow us on Twitter. That's where I talk about a lot of other stuff. You get a lot of Spider-Man negativity there too, and on Instagram as well. You can see all of our thumbnails done by our incredible thumbnail guy Zane. And just if you leave this with anything, just if you genuinely like the MCU Spider-Man films, good. I wish that I enjoyed them. Don't take us being negative as a meaning that you can't enjoy them, because I encourage you to like them, and I wish I was the kind of person who could like that stuff. We're not judging anyone's opinions apart from our own here. So yeah. Is that everything? I think that's everything.
That's everything. Get your vaccination, please. If you're still listening,
can you just imagine, John, if we weren't recording this whole time? I just had a horrible thought, but no, we're definitely recording.
That would be the most sad thing ever, that we just talked about the MCU Spider-Man for 1 hour, and then they somehow listen and they go, "Huh? Is this the episode finished or something?" This is like 5 minutes of the episode.
It's 5 minutes of us being like, "Guys, we recorded something. It didn't record. We're not doing it again. They're bad."
That would have been like a cool, like, lost episode, but like that is a depressing one.
Yeah, it's definitely cool and depressing. Oh man. Well, we'll see you all next week. Get excited for Spider-Man. Take us out, John.
Have low expectations, but then if I have low expectations and have like the based on stuff that happens in the film, yes, I'll be satisfied.
My expectations are high. I won't apologize for it. I guess we'll see what happens.
Yes. Okay.
And, take us out then.
Take what you're giving.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.